is Raina Campbell, your Chief Dream Driver, and welcome to the No Parking Podcast, where through conversations and discussions with creators like yourself, we'll find interesting approaches to help you take your dreams out of park, put them in drive, and ride towards success. Hey Dream Drivers, welcome to episode 34 of the Dreams in Drive No Parking Podcast. Today we're going to be speaking with Ebony Swank, who's the owner of Swank Boutique, which is one of the longest running chains of boutiques in the Detroit metro area. I talked to Ebony about, what made her jump into entrepreneurship and what were some of her journeys that she's experienced along the way. We talk about, what motivated Ebony to stop being shy and start selling more, how she was able to rebound from failure, the things that she had to do, in order to have success the second time around. And you'll understand what I'm talking about when you listen to today's episode. We also talk about, why Ebony thinks a lot of people in this lifestyle entrepreneur space fail. So if you are somebody who wants to have your own retail business, somebody who wants to design, be in the fashion industry, I definitely think you'll enjoy listening to Ebony talk about what she's experienced and things that you really, really need to make sure you understand before you open up shop. Last but not least, one of the things that I think really, really hits home for me, and it's something that I think you guys will also enjoy, is why you need to understand your target market. No matter what it is, you need to understand who you're selling to, why they want to buy from you, and how you can make that sale. And that's something that Ebony talks about in depth, which I know you'll like. So make sure, before we go into today's episode, make sure that you are subscribed to us on iTunes or SoundCloud. Make sure that you also are following us on social at Dreams and Drive across the board: YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, everywhere. You can find us there. And if you want today's show notes, all you have to do is go to dreamsanddrive.com and click on episode 34. Hi, Ebony. Thank you so much for joining us on today's episode of Dreams and Drive. I'm excited to talk to you.
I'm excited to be here with you. Thank you so much.
So you're out there in Detroit, right?
Yeah, I'm in the Detroit area. It's really good out here. I enjoy my city.
I'm based here in New Jersey. The weather has been kind of crazy. I don't know how the weather has been in Detroit, though.
It's been great for us. I actually just got back from Los Angeles, and their weather was a little cool. I was excited to get back home, so we're all good here.
All right, so let's jump into our question. So the first thing I love to ask all our guests is, what inspired you as a child? I think it's really telling to go back into your childhood and think about, who was Ebony as a kid? So if I were to ask, someone who knew you when you were a kid, what would they describe you as being?
Very quiet. That's why I'm surprised I'm the woman that I am actually today, because I didn't walk until I was about 1.5, 2 years old, and I was very quiet. And even for me to be the woman that I am, especially when, I'm in my zone with helping people and inspiring people, even in the stores, you wouldn't believe that this was Ebony growing up. You wouldn't believe that I'm the same person as I was as a child.
So what do you think changed, or did you grow out of your shyness or your quietness as a young adult? Like what was that evolution like?
You want the honest truth?
Yeah.
When I noticed that the money was me talking and speaking in my stores and selling clothes, once I knew that I had to be the salesperson, the go-to person, the go-girl, I knew that I had to open my mouth, and it just came out of me. So I was just basically hustling in the stores, doing everything, selling everything, giving people the truth, inspiring people. One of the things that I was when I worked in the stores was I gave people confidence and through what they wore, along with a great conversation.
Mm-hmm. So, all right. So let's get into the next question. What launched you into entrepreneurship? So I know that you are the owner of Swank Posh, which is you have 3 retail stores in Detroit, right?
Yes.
And you also are the founder of Business Best Friend. So let's go back to the retail days. What launched you into opening your first store, and tell us what happened when you decided to launch?
Well, I used to also own a hair salon, which I completely gave away after Swank took off. It literally
Mm-hmm.
took off, and I didn't have time for the hair salon. And the hair salon, it was doing okay, but at the end of the month, it was basically just paying my mortgage. My mortgage. So it really wasn't worth everything that I had to do. So I gave it away. I blessed it to someone else. So you know how I'm not sure how it goes on in Jersey, but out here you have people that used to go to shop and sell things. And one day I pulled a young lady to the side and asked her, how is this working for you? And she gave me a number that she would make in a weekend. And I'm like, wow, if she can do that going store to store, just imagine what I can do inside if I owned a store. So that's how I started. I branched out to Swank Posh, but I had always dipped in different entrepreneur things, whether if it was just me or me helping someone launch a business. I always had my foot in the entrepreneur world because of the troubleshooting and the my personality, to just get things done. I've always been a really, really hard worker. And I just decided to do it. I actually quit my job and did it. One of the jobs that I had as an accounting manager, I was laid off from that particular job. And after there, I went to another position, and my boss was a bully.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, she was a bully, and I decided to quit. And I'm just like, I remember the girl that walked into my hair salon, and I was just like, I'm gonna do this, because I've always had leadership skills. That's the word I was looking for. I've always been a leader, so everyone has always come to me for advice, or what can they do, or can I do this particular work for them? Because I used to like help people with contracts, and there are different things that they would have to have behind the scenes of their business. I always did different things like that for people anyway. So why not? You already know the game. Just do it yourself.
Mm-hmm. So you said that you quit that job, and that's when you launched the hair salon?
Well, no, I had already had the hair salon.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, I had already had the hair salon, but it wasn't bringing in enough money. But that's where I got the Swank Posh thing from, just from being at the hair salon with other people coming to sell different products.
So when you opened your first store, I know I was reading in your bio, the first 6 months of your first store, it didn't go so well, right? Can
Exactly.
you tell us what happened and what made you realize something had to change in order
Well,
for you to find success?
Well, actually, I was paying my rent before I was buying inventory. To be completely honest with you, my rent was really, really high. My overhead was way too high, way too much for me to be able to handle. And even with the money that I was bringing in, it still wasn't enough to be able to manage the stores, manage the inventory, and still be really profitable. And one of the things that I learned from that, because I'm excited that I was able to go in with that challenge, was that I did not plan, I did not market properly, and I didn't go towards my target market. Who I thought my target market was, which I didn't research completely before I opened there, was completely not my target market. That wasn't my audience. I
Okay.
was
Mm-hmm.
I was in a very elite mall right outside of Nordstrom, and I just knew that people would come in and just buy the clothes just with me being outside of Nordstrom, and that wasn't the case at all.
So you ended up closing down shop for a few months?
Yeah, I closed down shop for a few months, and I relaunched probably 6 to 7 months later. I was blessed with a child, so I waited till I gave birth, and then I reopened with all the money that I had left. I literally moved my mom from Missouri, um, so she can help nanny with my child.
Mm-hmm.
I moved her here. I moved her here to nanny for me, and I'll be honest with you. I had $12,000,
Mm-hmm.
and 1,500 of that paid my mortgage. My car was paid for. I didn't have a car payment, so that wasn't a big deal. So I took my mortgage money, and the rest I put into Swank. That was all the money that I had. I actually borrowed 2,000 from someone, I think, and here I am today with 3 stores. But the thing about it was just hard work and dedication and sacrifice, because I sacrificed not spending a lot of time with my baby, my youngest one. My kids are 13 years apart.
Mm-hmm.
So I left that up to my mom while I go into Swank, and I literally worked from 9 to 8 almost every day just making sure I got the store off the ground. And it worked. That's how I know that hard work and dedication will definitely pay off. Some people will think that 12,000 is a lot of money, some people, but to be honest with you, I was working with pennies compared to what I had before when I initially launched Swank Posh. And that is the reason why I teach with humble beginnings, regardless of, okay, you have a ton of cash, but do you really know what to do with it? Do you really know how to budget it? I really try to work off of a dime so you don't spend so much money in certain areas and you could be able to profit more.
I wanted to ask you that because I love what you're doing with Business Best Friend. But before I go into that, what did you do differently? Like, what are some of the exact things that you said? All right, I'm gonna get this stuff right the second time around, so that Swankaposh is successful. I know you said you didn't have a business plan when you first launched, but did you go in and work with someone to create a business plan? Did you create a marketing plan? What was your whole process like the second time around?
Well, I'm not sure how much I mentioned that I was an accounting manager before. I was an accounting manager. So, with the accounting world, you get all the bull crap.
Mm-hmm.
Everything comes into you. You're like the problem fixer. So you're dealing with sales, you're dealing with marketing, you're dealing with the numbers. Okay. So by me being an accounting manager, I worked directly up under the CFO, not the controller, directly with the CFO. And we were running the business. This was the company that I was actually laid off from. And that was a good paying job. I was making $70,000 there. And then also, I think about 75 at the job that I actually quit. But my point is that you see everything behind the scenes. So the first time I didn't even take into consideration what I had learned with Swank, because it's just like, okay, here's my life savings, everybody. Here, let's just take it and mess it all up. You get what I'm saying? Don't plan, just do what you think you should be doing. But the second time, what I did was the employees that had actually worked for me, which was my cousins and such, I hired family in, and I asked them who would be the person that were coming in here spending the high ticket items, who would be coming in here, the most repeat customers. And then I was able to learn who my target was. So remember Juicy Couture?
Oh yeah, the little juicy velour sweatshirt. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So mentioned that my kids were 13 years apart, right? So my
Hmm.
oldest daughter, I used to shop in the Juicy store all the time for her. So when I went in, I would ask them, who is your biggest person? Who is your person that's coming in here, spending the most cash all the time, your repeat customers? I started talking to them and they would tell me. So I would start going around paying attention to every little detail, every little customer at different stores that I liked. Okay, so that's where I got my vision from. And then what I did was I started looking for a location, and then my location needed to be in a suburban part of Detroit, but not in Detroit for safety reasons. Hate me for saying that, but just for, just for safety, reasons. But I needed to be in a suburban area where I was close to my customer, so that they were easy accessible to. And I teach that, as far as how to pick a location. So I did that, and I knew that I didn't have a lot of money, so I used my best source, which was Facebook, right? And
Hmm.
I would be up all night researching people on Facebook, getting to know who my customer was on Facebook. I really didn't even know how to work Facebook really at the time, because I wasn't a social savvy person. I just wasn't into that at that time. But and of course it was new on the scene. It wasn't really new to college kids, but it was new to just the everyday person. But it still was a lot of people on there. So I didn't do a plan per se. I did a non-traditional plan. Basically, know who your customer is, know who to market to, and know where you're going to market at a really good, at a cost-effective rate. Okay, so basically, that's exactly what I did when I say I planned. I didn't do a traditional business plan. I did a non-traditional business plan, because by the time I would have got done with a business plan, I would have been frustrated. Just went and got a job.
Yeah. So do you think, I think that's something that a lot of us often struggle with. I know even myself, with building and thinking about the future of Dreams and Drive and where I want the whole community to grow with, I'm like, do I need to actually sit down and create a formal business plan, or do I just really need to think about what are the key metrics I need to track and what are my key growth goals? Like, would you recommend that people go the non-traditional route, or is there ever a case that you think from your experience that you need that hardcore business plan?
Well, I'll just tell you from my experience, you don't need a traditional business plan. The only time that you need a traditional business plan, if you're looking for investors, of course they want to know your numbers and they want to see everything.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But I even teach not to really go that route, especially if you're afraid or you really don't know how it's going to work. Because just imagine the money that I put into Swank the first time. If I would have put those expenses on credit cards or took out loans and different things like that, I would be in hell right now. Excuse my language, but it wouldn't be so great for me right now because I would have all of that debt. So I try to get people to use some of the money that they actually have, or it depends on the type of business that you have. Because some businesses you really don't even have to have money. It's just about the way that you create and what have you. So would I suggest a traditional business plan? No, not if you're not going in for any bank loans or anything. If you're financing it yourself, I say create a plan with goals. Goals are number one. Um, your audience, well, that is really number one, your audience, because you have to market to everyone is to market to no one at all.
Definitely.
You have to know everything about the audience, and that is one of the things that I really thrive on, is getting to know your actual customer. And the way that I actually teach it is, when you meet a girl or guy or whatever, however it goes, whether you're female or male, and when you meet, you call your girlfriend on the phone, right? And you say, hey, I just met this guy. He was really cute. His teeth was like this. He was driving this. He was really made up. He worked at this place. You really give your girlfriend a lot of details when it comes to the guy that you just met that you're so excited about. Well, you have to do the same thing with your audience. You have to know them in depth. What books are they reading? Who's their boyfriend? Where they're going? Who's their girlfriend? Is their credit good? Is it not good? Do they have credit cards? It's so many different things that you actually have to learn about your customer when it comes to running a business before you can even do too much. Because even if you're a person that's like a buyer, how do you know who you're buying for if you don't know who your customer is or where she's going or he's going, if you don't know them? So that's really important.
And I like what you said about, one of the things I took away from that is also you really shouldn't ask for other people's money in the beginning. And I love that you said that, because I was reading an article in Inc. the other day, Inc. magazine, and it was like one of those little columns that they have at the end. And I think one of the authors were talking about how a lot of these new companies, everybody wants to get investment dollars in the beginning. Like, people don't even want to figure out how to make profit. They just want to get as much funding as possible. And how he was saying how that is setting up a lot of people to fail, because they aren't really thinking about how can they build revenue building business. So I love that you said that, because I think a lot of young people especially, they just want money in the beginning, and they don't actually want to think about, all right, how can I stretch what I have to build something that I own?
Because it's like humble beginnings.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I'm really into. Because just think about it. You have all of this money that you just got. Like, some guy some investor just came and gave you all this money to invest into your business. Do you know where the marketing dollars are going to go? Do you know do you know anything about revenue? Do you know anything about numbers? Because it's so easy to say, okay, I want to sell sneakers or t-shirts, or I want to become a just anything. You get what I'm saying? And it's just like, okay, but do you know how to run the inside of the business? Do you know the guts of the actual company? And I failed with my own money before, and I'm still thankful for it because it taught me so much. But just imagine if you owe someone that.
I know that would have been horrible, because even if they're investors, they still want their money back. So
Yeah.
you'd have to figure out a way to sell your soul to get that money back.
Yeah. And another thing is, I don't want to work harder for someone else than I do for myself.
Mm.
So I still don't use credit. I still use more money, but that's something that I have to learn, and that I would have to learn how to step away from, is using someone else's cash. That's all. That I don't know how long or when I'm ever going to get over that. But it's really hard, just because you should just think about what I've took $12,000, and I make a ton of cash throughout all of these stores, just from, I'm still calling it a small investment, because $12,000 is a small amount of money when it comes to owning women's stores.
So how did you expand? Because I think it's really inspiring to, to hear your story, how you started, then you closed and you relaunched, and now you have 3 stores. What was that whole expansion process like, and how did you know that you were ready to open up another store?
Well, I knew I was ready to open up another store one day. I made about 8 grand one particular day. And I
One
said,
day?
yeah, one day. And I was so excited. I was so excited. You know, you have to be, I'm a very careful person as to who I tell different things to. And I didn't know who to tell. So I'm just like, I was just sitting there praying. Of course, I have my cousin is Sean. She's like my human resources slash person. She doesn't work for me, but I call her for all of my advice. I caught him
She's
just
your
like,
life coach. She's your
yeah,
cousin
yeah,
slash
yeah,
life
yeah,
coach.
okay.
We all have those.
When I made the 8 grand, I couldn't even believe the number at the end of the night. You know, I was just like, what? Did I just do that? These people are really coming for me. And I knew I had to keep it up. But now it's time for me to go on the other side of town. So I went to the other side of town and I started off very slow because I was on the Detroit side. This is how you know that um, a location is everything. I was on the Detroit side, right across the street from, excuse me, from where one of my stores is now, probably down about a half a block. Once I seen that the location had came available on the other side of the street, I jumped for it. I ran for it. Do you know my sales increased $30,000?
Wow, what made the difference? Just being on another side
Just
of the
being on the
street?
other side of the street, next to the Sprint store. I hate to shout them out. I'm not getting paid for it. And on the other side of the street, it just felt safer to customers. And I was like, wow. So again, that's how you know that location is everything. But I was really testing the waters on the other side of town because I was, a little afraid. If you're not afraid of anything, then you're not doing something right anyway. You shouldn't just have so much confidence that you know you're going to make it. So I was really afraid. But again, I moved to the other side of the street and my sales increased tremendously. And I was just really, really excited about that. So then the other store, which was a third store, is somewhat in like it's not a shopping mall, but it's kind of where my customer goes, and she's in this building all the time. So I opened up a small pop-up shop inside of there, and I decided to stay because I was doing so well. And God actually told me to go there. I woke up and God said, the Greenfield Plaza store, and I'm like, what? Okay, God, but I'll listen. And do you know, 2 weeks later, they announced that the huge mall across the street was closing. So not only am I getting that, everyone that was going to the mall before now comes over to this building I'm at, and then I'm successful in that building as well. So it's like this is cool. And the thing about it is, I love everything that I do. I love it.
So what do you do now on a day to day? Like, were you the one in the stores, or were you running the stores once you got up to 3 different locations?
I was still running the stores, and then I always had like a store manager, but not like a store manager that I have now. I've learned to delegate different things for the actual store manager to do. Shout out to Jasmine. She has a really strong work ethic. She loves what she do. She manages about 10 different employees. And it's exciting for her because everyone that comes and work for me, I always let them know, like, hey, listen, this is the way that you have to do it, and this is the way you should do it. And the reason being is because you're going to be able to take this and you're going to be able to take this information that I'm teaching you, put it on your resume, and you can go further with this. So always have your eyes and your ears on and be willing to learn everything that I'm teaching you for anyone that's working for me, because I want them to be as just successful as I am. I don't have a degree. Hell, I didn't graduate from high school.
Mm-hmm.
But with that being said, I have a strong work ethic. So I started out as a temp, and I went from a temp to an accounting manager. Like, how many people do you actually know that have done that?
Not
But
a lot. And it's
yeah,
hard. Like, you'd have to be the best damn temp of your life. You know what I mean? I don't mean to say, like, I'm
but
not
if
like,
you start at one place,
yeah, that
like, I jumped around and just was able to get so many different experiences. And with me having a strong work ethic and me being a great troubleshooter and me being able to figure things out, I'm not going to say it was easy for me, but it was interesting to me. But I always wanted the top guy to notice me. So if I had to go somewhere and work for $9 or $10 an hour just so I could get the higher position, then that's what I was doing, honestly.
And in today's day and age, I think that, degrees sometimes don't mean anything if you don't know what to do with it. And I think it's inspiring to see how you said, like, you dropped out of high school, right? But you were still able to make it, and that did not diminish you in any way. It didn't diminish your ability to learn. It didn't diminish your ability to really prove yourself. So for anyone who's listening in who may feel like, because you may not have a degree, you may not have a college degree, that does not mean that you cannot still accomplish your goals, right, Ebony?
That's exactly right. Now, don't get me wrong. I definitely encourage college.
Mm-hmm.
I encourage education. I have a really high standard for that, because I have kids that I'm teaching, my children, and I lead by example. Although mom didn't graduate from high school, which I think my oldest daughter didn't even learn that until probably about 5 years ago. Nothing that I ever wanted her to know. Nothing that I even wanted to come public until recently. But you just always strive to be the best that you can be, and I always tell people, if you're working at McDonald's and they put you on fries, you be the best damn fry maker that they've ever seen. So they can go and tell someone, hey, you met Nicole. Nicole is doing great on fries. You know what I'm saying? So whatever you do, always be the best at it, because you never know who's watching.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about Business Best Friend. What caused you, or what inspired that new business venture of yours?
Well, people would always call and ask me, hey, how do you do this? What do you think about this? Blah, blah. And I would always tell them. So, sometimes I get stuck in different things and ideas on what I should do. And my cousin Sean, my life coach I told you about, she just has a regular 9 to 5. She has a really good job, but she's not in the business field. She just knows how to go and work for someone. So I needed to reach out to my other girlfriend, Tiffany. Hey, what do you think about this? Because she runs her own business too. And we would be going back and forth with ideas, jumping back and forth. And one day I said, hey, you're my business best friend, right? And we laughed about it. And I said, I'm going to create a program for business best friends, because when I first started, with me struggling, not the first time, well, the first time too, and the second time, no one wanted to give me any information. No one wanted to help me with anything. I have one person that would give me a little information, and what I would do is I would take it and I would run with it. You can't just say, okay, the sky is blue. I want to know why the sky is blue and what time does it go away, everything like that. I really dig deep into everything. So I felt like it was my duty to show others how you can be successful with small money, or little to no money, or just if you're already in business, how to do it right. Because you have so many people that are just struggling, when sometimes all they need to do is create goals. Like if you don't have goals, if you're not working towards anything, then then how can you be successful? Or how do you know what successful is if you don't have anything to work towards? If you have something to work towards, you'll work twice as harder than if you didn't have anything to work towards. Did I say that right?
No, that makes a lot of sense. Like, if goals help you have something to work towards, so you need them.
Yes.
So why do you think most entrepreneurs, and I'll be even more specific, why do you think a lot of entrepreneurs within your industry, the fashion, lifestyle, entrepreneurship, people who are selling directly to consumers, why do you think they fail?
Well, number one, they don't plan properly.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is they don't know who they're marketing towards. You'll be surprised as to when I ask that question, people are like, huh? Like, okay, you didn't do your research, but I'm here to help you. They just don't know the proper steps to take. And this is one of the reasons I'm not afraid, because someone would say, you're teaching the competition. I don't feel that way. I feel like I'm just helping someone. Even like stores here, I go into people's stores. They pay me to come into their stores and do like remember, you know who Tabitha Takeover is? Yeah. No. Sorry.
Maybe.
Okay, anyway.
The name doesn't ring a bell immediately.
Well, basically, I'll just go in and take over their stores, tell them if they should hire different employees, get rid of their old employees, train them on their system, how to set things up, the proper way. Even hair salons, I do that for. I do that for a lot of businesses because even like some people they have a system, but they don't know how to work their system and they're not using it to its full potential. And then you have to run reports again, your goals. So whatever you did last year on this day, you need to be increasing that by 10 or 20% on this day. You know what I'm saying? Whatever you did last year this week, you need to continue to push that number and just go further all the time. And do you know that your system will run reports? You paid all of this money. You don't know all the reports that this system would actually do for you. So I train them that way too. And then they start thinking different. Like, wow, I never thought of it like that. And that's really, really important. The numbers, like, okay, I say this all the time. I don't do this for fun. Yes, I do it for the money, excuse me, but I do. Mm-hmm. Because even to have money, you have to have money in order to grow. I wouldn't be able to have 3 stores if I wasn't making money. It wasn't like somebody just came and said, Ebony, here, go do this. I probably wouldn't even know what to do with it if that had happened. But you have to have money to grow. You have to have new equipment. It's time for you to upgrade your building. It's time for a logo change. Rebranding. It's so much things that you need to do when you're growing. And in order to grow, you need to be making some money.
One of the things that a lot of us listening in may struggle with is figuring out, like, what are my rates? What should I be charging people? How did you figure out when you were doing these consulting services with other businesses? Did you have a set rate? Was it something that you just developed over time? And how did you confidently say to them, this is what I charge. This is what it will cost you if you want to work with me?
My time. See, what I initially did was I started out very small just so I can get my feet wet and my customers or clients could teach me how to teach them. Because again, this is a business you're researching. You have people that are out here charging $5 and $6 grand basically to do nothing. And you're having people come to all of these different workshops and you're still not teaching them anything. My workshops are very inexpensive, but it's just so you can get to know me before you invest more money in me. And even with my one-on-one consulting services, it's still not expensive for everything that I actually have to do. And what I do is I put myself into your shoes and I help you paint your vision, but I become you. And then I go out and do a plan for you, but I've researched and done everything that I would do as if it was my actual business.
Okay. And then when it came to the rates, people were just comfortable paying you because they trusted you, right?
Yes, because they trust me, because I give them value. And then I kind of show the different things that I do throughout the day. And I give them different tips. And I go on Periscope, a lot to show them, hey, this is what you need to do. And sometimes it's just a conversation just to get people to thinking different, because people got to know, what you're talking about. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, I still don't charge enough because I want to make it comfortable for them. Excuse me. Because it's so much work and it's so much time that you actually have to put into opening or running someone else's business. Just think about it. If I had to do everything that Dreams and Drive have to do for me to come up with a plan for you, that's marketing, that's your audience, how much money you should be making, and your different goals set. That's a lot of homework for someone to do, and it takes a lot of my time. But the thing is, I don't mind teaching you and showing you this, but I'm not going to do the work for the sake, so to speak, for you. I hear this is where you need to go. This is where you promote, and these are the tools that you actually need to use, and you need to be making X amount of dollars at this point in time, and it may be slow for you at this quarter, and you have 30 days to ask me unlimited questions, while you're starting your business. And the sad thing about it is people will get halfway through and then they'll get stuck and then they'll give up. Like, what are your questions? And I'll try to text them and email them, hey, what's going on? How's it going? I just got a little bit too busy, because people get afraid. And as you know, this businesses are hard. They're hard to run. They're hard to start because it takes a lot of time and dedication. And some people don't understand. Like, say, for instance, if you're selling sunglasses and you're selling them by email, but do you know how much money that you're missing for not having a website? So, even if you're doing a pop-up shop, the whole point of doing an actual pop-up shop is to get customers to be able to send them somewhere. But if you don't have a website to send them to or a store to send them to, your pop-up shop is really pointless. Yeah, you made a couple of dollars for that day, but the whole point is to get out to meet people and to know people and give them easy access to your business.
Right, and with this in this day and age, I feel like if you have any type of product, you need to be able to sell it online in some capacity. Unless you're a Chanel and your product is so exclusive that you don't sell online.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things I wanted to ask you, Ebony, is thinking about your whole experience as being an entrepreneur, what do you think was the greatest hurdle you had to overcome, and how did you do it?
The greatest hurdle that I had to overcome, and how did I do it? Um, in business. Well, going back to closing down Swank the first time. It was embarrassing. People was actually happy to see that I was closed because they want to say I told you so. But when I overcame it is when I came back. And when I came back and I knew exactly what I was doing. And I still made mistakes and I still got up and I still did it again. Because every detour or mistake or problem, I've learned from it. I still have detours and I make mistakes today, but I'm still learning. And everything that I learn, I try to teach out. So many people don't know about search engine optimization. At one point, I didn't really know much about search engine optimization. And you pay so many different people to do so many different things, and they're basically stealing your money. Well, it's a business for them too. But for something that if you would have just done your research, you could have done it yourself. So I like to teach everyone, hey, start here, learn it first, and then delegate. Because what happens is if you need to change something on your website, if hey, you're in the business best friend class and I say, hey, everybody, I want you to go use this word or put this on your website or put a pop-up so we can get people to drive to your email or come to your email, or and then the first thing you say is, oh, I don't know how to do that. I have a program, or I have this person or I have that person. And it's just like, well, why don't you know how to use your own platform? Why don't you know how to go in and change these things? And I always like to give real life examples. If you're dropping your kid off to the babysitter every day and you're hardly spending any time with him or her, and then they come home and they start acting a certain type of way, and you're like, where did she get this from, or where did he get this from? It's because you're not raising your child. Just picking up all these bad habits and it's not learning anything. It's not doing what you instilled in it, or what you never instilled in it, because it's never home. And that's the thing with your business. You have to do everything yourself first and then delegate. Because otherwise, do you know how to log into your back system? Do you know how to ship an order if it comes to? Do you know how to send an email blast? I like to learn everything, because even with that, when you're marketing, you have to know what's working.
I love that you said that, because I think a lot of us listening in can really resonate with that, because at the end of the day, a lot of us, you may not have the money. I'll just keep it straight. You may not have the money to hire everybody to do it for you. So if you really want something to get off the ground, you really have to figure it out yourself. You know what I mean? If you're trying to budget, if you're trying to really allocate funds to the things that you should, if you had to choose between buying inventory or paying someone to do your email blast, it should probably go toward the inventory, and you could figure out how to do email marketing.
I can tell you a secret. Well, everyone a secret is that when I initially opened up in Swank, when I opened up the second Swank, the successful Swank, I would buy inventory before I paid my rent, but I would make sure I had a great relationship with my landlord. And if I got to pay a $50 late fee, then I'm just going to be paying that $50 late fee, because at the end of the day, I need to build the bank. And in order to build the bank, I need to bring product in. And in order for me to build the bank and meet my goals, I need to be selling a product and turning the product around so I can pay my bill. So I'm guilty of that. And it was so funny that I actually read that in Rich Dad Poor Dad. I'm not sure if you've ever read that.
It's on my list to read. It's on my list.
Okay, the poor dad, no, the rich dad, which was you would think was the poor dad. He didn't pay his bills first. He made sure his business was running properly. And I was like, wow, like no one taught me that. It's just something that I just was doing while inside of the business. And I'm not ashamed to say it because look where it's got me. And I'm still in the same store. We've changed ownerships, but I still have a great relationship because they know I'm here. They know I'm making money. And at the end of the day, they want me to be successful too.
Yeah, and I also think it's an extra push, right? Like you
Yeah.
know that at the end of the day, you have to figure out a way to sell your goods so that you can pay the rent eventually. So I think sometimes that's also a push to you if you're motivated enough to see it as a push.
And another thing that I want to um, go to retouch on is when you said, some people don't have a lot of money to hire people. And that's one reason why people are afraid to step out there on their own because they think that they have to have all of this money to get started when actually you can be doing things on your own. You don't have to pay someone to do your website. They have platforms these days where you can create your own website. You can do your own graphics. You don't have to pay someone $50 every time you put a slider up online. Learn how to do those things yourself. And everything is Googleable. And if you want, and if you want to hear from real life people to show you the practical way, I'm here to show everyone what to do.
I love that you said that because in a previous episode, with Lori Swank, who's a celebrity stylist, she
Mm-hmm.
said that same thing. I said to her, what was the best tool or what was your best advice for any entrepreneur? She said Google.com.
Mm-hmm.
Google.com told her everything she needed to know in the beginning. So, there's nothing that you can't learn through YouTube or Google, especially for like the stuff that's tutorials on how to set up, how to get started. You definitely don't need $1,000,000 to get started. You just need the will and
Mm-hmm.
maybe like $2 or so for internet connection or something.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Or go to Starbucks for what have you. Just do what you got to do. Amen. See that?
Okay. Oh, see, I learned something, Ebony. Oh, we just had a business best friend session.
Call me anytime, I swear. Like, and it's so crazy because I'm just gonna share a short story with you. I know you have to go, but when I buy in LA, so I'm in LA all the time, and this particular time, normally I still don't really just walk up to people and talk to them, so I still have that shyness in me. But this lady just started talking to me. She was a white woman. She lives in San Diego, and she told me she lives in San Diego, and it's like, boom, okay, everything that's in San Diego is really expensive. So anyway, she's a traveling boutique, and she said that she had asked God to direct her or bless her with someone in her life that can show her how to do this online thing. So because she's getting older and she can't really do the traveling boutique anymore. So anyway, we talked inside of a store where we were both buying from for about 5 to 10 minutes, and I just gave her like a couple of jewels. Like I'm not gonna just charge. I gave her some informative information, and she just started hugging me and crying and telling me how she was talking to God on her way down there, and she couldn't believe that she had ran into me and blah 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 blah. She looked like she was about 60 years old, and you know how you can just look at someone and tell that they're well off. And so I took that, and of course I gave her my website, so of course she must have went and did and researched, and she researched and best probably checked my references and Googled my name and different things like that. And then she called me and said, I really want you to help me. I will pay you. I'm not computer savvy, but I can do some things. But if you can mentor me, now this is a 60-year-old woman that's just trying to learn this computer thing because they're really not computer savvy. She's like, I have about 200 followers on Instagram. She thought that was a lot. I'm not. But I'm just like, okay, with today's market, that you don't hardly have anything. But just for a woman of that particular class at that age, and she wants me to mentor her off of a couple of jewels that I dropped to her, it's like God is really blessing me. And in order to be blessed, you have to pay it forward. So regardless of however it is or however I'm doing it, I'm making sure that people are actually getting something from what I'm giving them. I'm not just giving you general information, and that's what a lot of people are doing. And people are getting discouraged because they're paying $100 to $200 for people to just tell them nothing or something that they already knew, you know?
Mm-hmm. And
So
did you end up working with her or end up mentoring
actually
her?
we were actually supposed to speak today. I got too busy, so we have a meeting to talk tomorrow because she's in California, and I'm going to use this to my advantage to be able to market to get a different demographic, to get a different audience. Hey, this woman from Michigan or this woman from Detroit helped me, so I'm going to give her more than what we bargained for. You know what I'm
Oh,
saying?
that's a really good strategic move. It's really smart. So when you feel like giving up, Ebony, like what are the things that keep you going?
My kids, especially their tuition. I
Are
have
they in
one in
private
college.
school?
Well, one is in college. She goes to Bethune Cookman down in Florida, and then I have she just my youngest just went to the first grade, and she goes to a very expensive school. Education is really big for me.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my number one thing is my kids' education. I can't let them down at the end of the day, and I just pray. You know, God really walks me through Swank every day, even because I get frustrated with so many different things. You know,
Mm-hmm.
because I know that I have so much more ahead of me, and I know I can't run. I have to walk, but I'm just so anxious to get there, you know?
I know. I feel like we're all like that. You know, sometimes you may even give up in that whole in feeling anxious, it can also lead to feelings of giving up. Like the other day, was it the other day? No, like last week or so, I had this like day where I was like, why am I doing this podcast? Like no one's listening. I really was like gonna say screw dreams and drive, and I had to really just bring it back and be like, you know, you had a purpose and you have a goal, so you really just have to keep going through with it because you have you ever seen that poster where it's like someone's looking for a diamond and he's picking and he's about to give up and he doesn't realize that the diamond's right there if he had just kept picking that, you know, kept digging. So it's kind of like you have to just trust and have faith that if you know that this is what you're supposed to be doing and if you feel it, you can't let those feelings of anxiety and doubt bring you down.
Yes, that is absolutely true. That is absolutely true. I thrive on that. That is great.
So let's go into our lightning round. So at this part of our interview, I'm going to give you a prompt, and I want you to tell me the first word that comes to mind. And
Okay.
the metaphor that we're going to be using is the gear shift in the car. Okay.
Okay.
All right. First word: park.
Stop. Am I doing it right?
Reverse.
Backwards.
Neutral.
You're at a standstill.
Drive.
You're going fast forward and you're going to get anything you try to get.
All right. And then last but not least, with if you can't be a dream driver if you don't have your keys. So I want you to tell me 3 things that you think every dream driver needs to make sure they have in their bag before they hit the road.
They definitely need to know who their audience is. So I would say, first of all, a computer,
Mm-hmm.
a notebook to write down everything, and make sure you know how to use keywords for Google,
Mm-hmm.
YouTube, definitely.
So are you like one of those? Are you a notebook girl too? Because I have a notebook in every bag. Like I love carrying around my little notebook for ideas, all that stuff.
Yes, I do keep them with me, but I forget them every time. Yeah, iPhone girl because I know that I can't leave that, so I put everything in my notes.
Okay, okay. I think that's just something that a lot of people don't realize is it's important to get it out of your head and to get it onto somewhere so that you
Hmm.
can look at it and you can always revisit it. Because I know I tell myself, oh, I won't forget, and I will, and
You
I
will,
do.
but you'll be surprised when you go back and look inside of those notebooks that you've written different things down. The ones that I didn't forget, I find uh, I go back to a vision that I never created, and I'll start over. Like, wow, did I really put this out there? Like, that's great. Like, no, did I really write this down and didn't put it out there? And
Mm-hmm.
then I'll start creating off of a doodle that I did a year ago
Wow.
because it's yours. You know, it's authentic. And that's why I try to get people to understand authenticity is so important. No one has the same fingerprint. Do not copy always use your authenticity, because something that you can go and take from someone else or use their idea, they're already 10 steps ahead of you. They're already in drive when you're still in neutral.
And that, on that same note, I think that a lot of people feel like the whole going from neutral to drive for everybody is going to take a different amount of time, right? So you might see somebody get to drive while you're still in reverse or while you're even still in park. And I think that can also make people stop. So also knowing that with that whole being authentic, you have to stay true to who you are and stay true to your journey. Because just because somebody's doing it this way doesn't mean that it's going to happen the same way for you. And it also doesn't mean that it's going to be any less successful just because yours is different. So for anyone listening in, remember that.
Exactly. Exactly.
All right, Ebony, I thought this was a lovely conversation, and it was so, inspiring to hear you share your dream driving story and tips for our entrepreneurs and creatives listening in. Do you have any last words for everyone? Where can we find you online, number one?
Well, my website is businessbestfriend.org. And I'm also on Instagram and Facebook and Periscope as Ebony Swank and Business Best Friend. And you can come and see me, watch me hang out. I'm even on Snapchat, Ebony Swank. But Ebony Swank everywhere.
All
But
right.
yeah, come and come hang out with me.
And for you guys listening in, you can always go to our dreamsanddrive.com show notes and you can get the links to Ebony's sites. And you can even go to swankaposh. No, it's swankaposh.com, right? Or is it?
ShopSwankaposh.com.
Okay, swankaposh.com to shop what Ebony sells in her stores. All right, so that's a wrap for episode 34 with Ebony Swank. I hope that you guys enjoyed listening to her story as well as her give her tips and advice on how we can find success when it comes to pursuing our dreams. If you like today's episode, please share this with a friend. Tell more people about Ebony's story. Tell more people about the Dreams and Drive podcast. I would be so appreciative of having our dream drivers push this episode out to other people. If you haven't already, please subscribe to us on iTunes and SoundCloud. That means, if you're subscribed to us, you'll get notified when another podcast comes out. We do this every week, and I want to make sure that you don't miss an episode. If you want to join the Dreams and Drive community, all you have to do is go to dreamsanddrive.com/join. And last but not least, if you want show notes, go to dreamsanddrive.com and click on episode 34. Keep dreaming, keep driving, and I'll speak to you guys in episode 35.